Finding ways to be financially savvy is a smart move. And knowing you could be saving money for the things you really want, like that dream home or new ride, is a great feeling. That's why the State Farm Personal Price Plan can help you save when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state. Here's a tip for you. There's a podcast out there with fans waiting to be your next customer. They tune in every week, they trust the host, and that host wants to talk about brands like yours in their own words to their audience. The problem is, you just haven't been introduced yet. We're Acast, where that introduction happens. As the world's largest podcast marketplace, we let you browse shows, see who's listening, and book host-read sponsorships or run your own ads, all from one platform. Transparent pricing, real-time data, complete control. Start advertising on podcasts by visiting acast.com/advertise.
Oh, no.
Tash, one of our favourite podcasts, Bad Gays, has got a 5-part series on Peter Mandelson.
5 parts, obviously.
No, it's really intense, but it goes back into the history of the Labour Party and Peter Scandelson and everything, and it's like full of gay gossip.
Okay, thank you for the tip. You're listening to The Logbooks. These are the stories of our lives. We are Tash Walker
and Adam Smith.
And we're telling tales about history, politics, art, and LGBTQ+ life.
Tash, so what's the story?
Well, Adam, tonight is the closing party for Effable. Have you heard of Effable?
No.
Okay, so
Effable?
It's a project by George Parker and JP Seabright, and it aims to shine a spotlight on the lives and experiences of queer, disabled people. Mm-hmm. Specifically in the fields of sexual pleasure, desire and sensuality, from a positive perspective. And it's their closing party. The project's come to an end, but it's really amazing. And I found out about Effable through JP, who's a friend of mine, and their incredible poetry anthology, which you can buy now.
What was the project, actually? What were they doing in the project?
Well, they were bringing together and hosting different events, having conversations, sort of raising the profile around positive perceptions around like queer disability and saying we have feelings too, we have sexual desires too. Don't categorise us and label us, which of course is like something that we see happen a lot, especially within ableist societies.
Yeah, oh, sounds great.
Yeah.
Shall we go into our messy middle? I'll tell you what, before we do that, let's have a little ad.
Finding ways to be financially savvy is a smart move. And knowing you could be saving money for the things you really want, like that dream home or new ride, is a great feeling. That's why the State Farm Personal Price Plan can help you save when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state. You've got social dialed in. Search is doing its thing. So why do your marketing results look the same as 6 months ago? That's because you're fishing in the same pond as everyone else. Podcast listeners are a different audience entirely. More engaged, harder to reach through traditional channels, and ready to act when someone they trust makes a recommendation. We're Acast, and we put them right in front of you. Browse thousands of the world's leading podcasts, book host reads or run your own ads, and track every conversion in real time. Same skills you already have, brand new results. Acast. Acast.com/advertise.
So, Adam, what have we got today?
Well, Tash, in our messy middle today, we're going to listen to a long interview that I did with 2 people connected to a film. That film is really all about the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence.
Love. Derek Jarman was one of those.
He was, I don't know, what do you call it when you get turned into a nun? Is it canonized or is that only for saints? Anyway, he was
Indoctrinated.
He was indoctrinated, inducted, whatever, into being a Sister of Perpetual Indulgence. Indulgence. It's, well, you know, but I'll tell people in case they don't know. The Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence are a global activist movement and an order of nuns. And they've raised millions for charity over, I don't know, 4 decades, maybe 5 decades. They were there in the front line of the AIDS epidemic, especially in San Francisco and in other places. And they just bring joy and silliness. They kind of dress like camp drag nuns, if you can visualize
exactly right.
what that is. Anyway, there's a new documentary which is about the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence that is all about the annual Easter event that they do in San Francisco. And because it's Easter, it's all about Jesus. And so they have like a Hunky Jesus competition. That's what they do. And that happens in San Francisco every Easter. And they there's this new documentary about it. So I wanted to interview people connected to the documentary.
Great. I'm really looking forward to this.
Well, let's have a listen. It's going to be Sister Roma, who is one of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, and the director of the documentary, Jennifer Kroot. And I spoke to them just ahead of the UK premiere of the film, Hunky Jesus, which was going to be at BFI Flare in the spring. So let's have a listen. Sister Roma and Jennifer Kroot, thank you for having this conversation. Thanks for joining me. It's lovely to speak to you today.
Thank you for having us. Yes, this is so exciting. Jennifer, we're on a full press junket.
I know, together.
You're on tour. You've got a film. It's coming out. So, Jennifer, why don't you start by just presenting the film to me? Tell me what the film is and what is it all about.
Well, the film really captures joy. It captures radical joy, which is in the performance part of the film, which covers the event of Hunky Jesus, which is a fabulous Easter event that's legendary and super popular in San Francisco, that culminates in a Hunky Jesus contest, which is just like it sounds. And this fabulous experience is interwoven with the history of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, which we'll probably get into more about who they are.
Yeah.
But they're a group of drag nuns who've been around since 1979, doing performance activism. Got very organized during the HIV/AIDS epidemic here in San Francisco. And have done really radical work over the years, and they continue to thrive. And they're an international group. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
And before Sister Roma, before I come to you to hear a bit more about the nuns, Jennifer, could you tell me why, as a filmmaker, you wanted to focus on the Hunky Jesus event that happens every year as a way of talking about the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence?
Sure. Yeah, that, it actually, while I'd always wanted to see a really in-depth documentary about the sisters and never found one, I'm always so titillated by the Hunky Jesus event. It's known as Easter in the Park, really.
Yeah.
But and this attracts 10,000, this last year, closer to 15,000 people. So this is massive here. In San Francisco, we're known for counterculture, really from the 60s, 70s. There used to be a lot of performance activist groups, even going back farther to the Cockettes, obviously in the 60s. And to me, the sisters and their Easter pageant is really one of the last of these super cool, events that San Franciscans can be proud of. We've changed a lot. It's still a beautiful city. We get a bad rap for a lot of things. Ground zero for tech and wealth, all of that stuff. But it always gives me hope, just to know that this is going on every Easter, and shamelessly and joyously. So I had wanted to do it for years, And, finally, after the pandemic, it had become virtual for a period of time, as live events did.
Yeah.
And I promised myself, when it returned, I would reach out to Roma, since
Right.
she's one of the hosts. And I didn't know her at the time, but just reach out and see if this would be a possibility.
Right.
So I just, in San Francisco history, San Francisco queer history, San Francisco counterculture history is important to me.
It feels like the kind of film, like you said, that should have existed already. Like a film about the sisters anyway should have, like this and this scale should have existed already. And that, to really place the history of the sisters and the ongoing life and celebration of the sisters into San Francisco's story, into queer culture, queer life, to really get its place. It's the kind of film that needs to be made for that purpose. But when I said to you, like, why focus on the Hunky Jesus competition, in my mind I was just thinking, well, because then you just get all these images of all these gorgeous Hunky Jesuses trotting around in the spring sunshine, so why not?
Yeah, and they also, just the surrealness of the creativity of the freedom that people feel, spiritual freedom of, being in a safe community.
Yeah.
Sort of the sexy freedom to be, who you are in dress in the way you want to dress. And so I knew it would be kind of a Fellini spectacle that should be filmed properly.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
We sort of call it the Maisels meets Fellini.
Okay. Right. Well, I feel like that's my time to come to Roma then. Roma, can you tell me more about the history of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence as like a phenomenon, and then also your place within that?
I would love to tell you about the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence because I've devoted more than half my life to this order and to service to the community.
Yeah.
And I actually, when I moved to San Francisco in 1985, I met the sisters within 2 years, and it literally was like my head and my heart exploded. I realized that I cared about my community. I cared about human rights. And I wanted to look around and see who needed help. And that's exactly what the sisters were doing. As Jennifer mentioned, the sisters were formed in 1979, which was just before the HIV/AIDS crisis started to ravage our community. And the sisters were leaders and fighters in HIV/AIDS education and prevention. They were the first group ever to produce a safer sex pamphlet called Playfair, and one of the first groups to hold a fundraiser for people who needed help paying for practical care items like rent. And I was just so impressed by their bravery and their unbridled joy. And I had never thought about doing drag in my life. And then I met these crazy drag nuns, and it literally changed my life. It helped me discover who I am.
And you've been a member of the order ever since then? Ever since that? What's that, 40 years or so?
Almost 40 years I've been in this crazy habit.
Yeah.
It's been such a joy and a privilege. And that's really what the Easter celebration is. It is our thank you to San Francisco. It's a free event that happens on our anniversary, and it's our way of thanking the community for allowing us to be of service and work and play amongst them.
Yeah.
And over the years, it has grown into one of the most anticipated and adored events in San Francisco.
What does it mean to be ordained as a member of the order?
Well, if you meet the sisters and you're intrigued by what we do and you think you hear the calling, because I do believe that sisters are born, not made, then you approach us and you start talking about possibly volunteering with us at one of our many, many events. We work throughout the year. Easter is not the only event that we produce, and it's not the only event we support. In fact, I can't think of an organization or a community that the sisters have not touched in San Francisco and around the world. I'm very proud of the fact that we raise tons of money every year, which we give right back to the community. We are a 100% volunteer organization, and almost every dime that we raise goes back to the community. So if you feel, that you want to be involved in this, then you sort of approach us, and then you might come to a meeting.
Yeah.
And once we get you in a meeting, you're hooked, darling. It's over. You have to find sisters that you want to be on your support team, and then you talk to our mistress of novices, and you begin the process. And it can take a year or two for some people to actually go through all the different stages and requirements. But once you become fully professed, you're a sister for life.
And can you tell me about some of the most memorable Hunky Jesus competitions that you've been involved in and hosted at over the years?
Well, it started as Easter in the Park started in a tiny little park in the Castro. It was really just for us and some of our most avid fans.
Yeah.
And then on our 20th anniversary, we decided to have a huge party in the Castro and close Castro Street.
Mm-hmm.
And that created some pushback amongst people in San Francisco and even in City Hall. Luckily, we had representatives like Mark Leno and others who fought very hard to make sure that the sisters got the permit to close the street. But as a result of the controversy, the publicity about our little party blew up and went nationwide. And CNN came to San Francisco and followed us all over the Castro for an entire week.
Right.
So we never could have afforded the kind of
Great
publicity that we received.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was insane. So here we were in Castro Street, and there was like 20,000 people there.
Yeah.
And afterwards, we just kind of looked at each other and we said, well, I think we've outgrown Collingwood Park. So we moved to Dolores Park. Some amazing contests that we've had over the years. And one of my favorites that I always think of is the winner was Viva Las Jesus. He was an Elvis impersonator in a white suit with gold gilded jewelry and a big pompadour hair. And then when he walked up on stage and introduced himself, he opened his hands and released stigmata glitter and streamers.
Wow.
I mean, it was, and the crowd just came alive.
Yeah.
And then another favorite of the mine and the crowds was Puerto Rican Jesus. And this was back when He Who Shall Not Be Named responded to the hurricane in Puerto Rico by throwing paper towels out at the crowd.
Right.
So our Puerto Rican Hunky Jesus came out and, of course, pelted the crowd with rolls of paper towel, which San Francisco audiences are very smart. They only respond to very clever, well-articulated Jesuses and Foxy Marys with a very clear point of view.
Yeah.
And you have to be more than just hunky. It's not really just a beauty contest. It's a statement. It is it's a movement, it's a vibe, it's a lifestyle.
Well, yeah, I want to kind of dig into that a little bit more. And I guess I would ask the same question of the both of you about what you think about this kind of interesting, I don't know, dynamic about the sisters in the sense that it's a religious order, you know, they're nuns, they have the calling, but on the other hand, it's also parodying Catholic nuns in the more parodying the conventional version of that. And there's at the same time as the performance aspect of it, you know, both are performative, right? Both types are performative, but there's also this question of politics and values and community and who's doing the community work and what constitutes community work within an order of nuns. So this is like quite a broad topic there, but I'm just interested. Maybe Jennifer, I'll come back to you first about that. Like from your outside perspective as a filmmaker, you know, what do you make of this question of like, to what extent is this a quote unquote real religious order versus performance art and real community work versus art, you know?
Right. It's all of those things. In fact, I went into this, I grew up in the 70s in Northern California and have my own very weird religious upbringing, which is not Christian, but it had to do with psychic cults and things. And so I never really had that, experience of any type of Christianity. We were a little bit Jewish. We were a little bit Jewish. But anyway, so I went into it pretty anti-Catholicism, I have to say, and meeting the sisters and getting to know them and seeing the community and even talking to some tolerant clergy people, even though they're members and they're not necessarily super into this. I was really intrigued by the spirituality I felt emanating from the sisters. Now, they're not all, Christian or, they might be atheists or Christian or Catholic, but some of them take mass. Some of them go to church regularly. And they see it as a spiritual calling, and they do the work that nuns do. And certainly people have said over the years, and it sounds like more so in earlier days. I mean, there aren't a lot of Catholic sisters anymore. There aren't a lot of nuns. And, they had been accused of parodying nuns, but I don't see that at all anymore. And I never really thought about it like that. But, they're doing the work that Catholic nuns do, and it's kind of thankless work. The real nuns, doing quote marks, they they do this work. And what was I going to say? That it's all real. What the sisters are doing. And if people take a moment to talk to the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence about their work, they'll see that. And so I went into this thinking that this movie might kind of slam some religion.
Right.
And it doesn't. I think it's a movie about what Catholicism or Christianity or Jesus, what that really is, who he was.
Yeah.
And I'm just much more open to, there being real Catholics doing this real work.
Yeah.
I've met, people, like I said, clergy members who do real work. And it's not like the people on the Supreme Court, which of the United States, which is more what I was thinking. This right wing stuff that has kidnapped the words of religion, Christianity.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Jennifer, because there is a big misconception about the sisters in general, and that is that we are mocking nuns, we are mocking God, we're mocking religion, and the truth is that we are doing none of those things. We are a 21st order of queer and trans drag nuns, and we are doing the work that most people would consider to be Christ-like if you believe what you read.
It's community work, exactly.
But there are people who are very offended by us, by our mere existence, and I don't think that they've taken the time to get to know and understand that what the sisters are doing is holding up a mirror in the face of the hypocrisy of organized religion in general. None of us has a problem with anyone choosing to worship or believe anything that they choose. If you find something that brings you hope and gives you a purpose, and you want to go to church every Sunday or every day, please do so. We would never deny you that right, that privilege. The problem is when you decide to weaponize your religion and misconstrue the words that you're reading as a way to control other people's behavior. I mean, the sisters want to shine a light on the hypocrisy, the misogyny, the racism, the homophobia, the transphobia that is quite often being preached from the pulpit.
I think that's really well put. It's like the most open, welcoming, inclusive version of, original messages in early, even pre-religion spirituality, right? It's about community. It's about bringing people together and helping each other out. And I think it can't escape our notice that this film is coming out now in 2026 in the USA in particular, in a particular political context, right? So I just wondered maybe if you could both talk a bit about that and the film, the sisters have been around for donkey's years, as we've heard, but it's coming out now. So what are you expecting from it coming out now, and what are you hoping for it in terms of where the USA is politically, in terms of, I guess Roma was there hinting at the, how religion has become such a dominant political force in the US right now. So where does it fit into that conversation, Jennifer?
I didn't plan to make this film for this time. It just happened. But maybe that's God's will or the universe's will. Whatever you believe in. It's, right. God works in mysterious ways. So, um, I guess I'm very excited that it's opening at Flair in
Yeah.
London
Yeah.
because I think it's a great representative,
hmm
to show London, the world,
hmm
whoever's going to be there, but an international stage to show that this is happening in the United States. We can export
Yeah.
joy, freedom,
Yeah.
of all types,
Yeah.
and share it with the world. We're still here doing things like this. And as far as the powers that be in this country, in the United States, um, I think we want to give people hope
hmm
who are hearing, I mean, every day, we're just pummeled now
hmm
with this new war and, all kinds of rights being taken away. I
Yeah.
don't have to probably tell you what all of those are,
Yeah.
but so many around gender, sexuality, everything.
Yeah.
Anybody, right?
Yeah.
Anybody they can. Um, so, a lot of people, and I know a lot of young people who they're so scared they want to hide under the table. And I want to show them get out of under the
Right.
table, be who you are. You know,
Do you think
if you,
do you think there's a generational difference there, Jennifer, as from you see it, about that younger people less likely to kind of stand up to the right-wing politics that have completely
well,
taken over the US right now?
I know that there's younger sisters, and I know
Yeah.
that there are younger activists, and I know there's some great younger politicians. But I do happen to meet a lot of very sensitive young people, and I'm sensitive too.
Hmm.
But I like having examples of leadership, civil rights leadership that the sisters are
Yeah.
pioneers in.
Yeah.
For all kinds of people, but particularly in their case, queer
Yeah.
civil rights.
Yeah.
And I think it's very hopeful to see. I think this film. I mean, we have a moment in the sisters' history or sistery, where they did an exorcism when Pope John Paul II came to San Francisco. Wonderful archival footage in it, but what a great thing. Someone who, the Pope who represented such hate towards so many groups of people and had
Mm.
just said terrible things about queer people, being evil and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And to show you can have a fun exorcism
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it, like Roma said, it's just poking at the hypocrisy and bringing
Yeah.
that to light. And I think as far as the young people that I haven't done a scientific study,
Yeah.
but, I do get concerned that they don't know a lot of their history or queer
Yeah.
history or any of this, civil rights history,
Yeah.
and that they are cowering sometimes. And I want to say, get up.
Yeah. Well,
And,
that's
Well, there's a complacency. People have gotten very comfortable. Young people
Yeah.
are not familiar of a time when all of their friends were dying of HIV/AIDS.
Yeah.
They're not familiar of a time when you couldn't go out in public dressed however you wanted to.
Yeah.
There was a time when queer people could not get married. There was a time when queer people could not serve.
Yeah.
So activism is born out of anger and fear and frustration.
Mhm.
And we were demanding equality. We were relying on the protections of the Constitution of the United States. The sisters have always been a litmus test for the freedom of speech and expression.
Yeah.
We have always fought to protect the separation of church and state. And we see both of those things being challenged every day. And I think young people are waking up and realizing, oh my gosh, we can't take these things for granted.
Yeah.
People before us fought very, very hard to get us where we are today. And it's going to be time for the next generation to step up because, unfortunately, the United States and countries and the world are moving in a more conservative vein.
Yeah.
People are pushing back at the great progress that we've made. Most particularly, our beautiful trans community has been criminalized and othered and demonized to the point where people in Kansas can't even drive a car with a license that doesn't
Yeah.
depict
Yeah.
their gender, their sex assigned at birth.
Yeah.
It's become outrageous that less than 1% of the population has become the center of all these conversations and all of this legislation,
Yeah.
when in fact there are people who can't afford to eat.
Right.
And it's just insane.
I mean, I think it's worthwhile pointing out from our side of the pond over here in Britain that like we are, and just to say to you both that, people here are watching the USA very closely, that, our community are watching USA very closely and what's been going on. We send solidarity and power and love for that. And I would say it to you too, like you're really putting yourselves out there at a dangerous moment by making this work, and Roma by doing the, all of the community work and, putting yourself out there at the moment. So we're watching that, we send that power and love. And then we're also being very vigilant here because we have politicians here who are importing the exact same language and techniques that are going on over there in the USA. And some of it goes back and forth, between the two places and obviously out to other countries as well. And so our situation is not as dire as it is in the USA right now, I think, for a lot of our community, but there are some things that have gotten a lot worse in recent years. And so I think it's just really great that this film is coming to Flare, it's coming to London, because it's an act of global solidarity and communication, conversation between, the USA and the UK and obviously other countries as well. Like you said, Jennifer, Flare is an international community, an international festival. So it's really good to have that. And that's really what, just going back to what we were saying about religion, that's really what, is at the heart of religion, really, is about international solidarity and cross borders and cross identities and everything. So
that's what people are going to see when this film honestly blew my mind. I absolutely love it. You alluded to the fact that you couldn't believe that there haven't already been movies like this made, or you were looking for documentaries about the sisters, and we've been approached and filmed and been in discussions numerous times. Jennifer has done what other people have failed to do. She came to us with a very clear concept,
right,
and she brought an amazing crew. Oh my gosh. And when she showed up at Easter with drones and 5 cameras and sound people, we were like,
wow.
this is
serious.
This is real. And then the end
Jennifer's got the gear.
Jennifer is not playing, honey. And the end result is just a beautiful love letter to San Francisco, to the queer community. It lets the world see that we have allies and the thousands, that there are people who understand LGBTQ plus people, that trans people and queer people and drag queens are not a threat. If anything, we are just a silly bunch of colorful, beautiful people who love to express ourselves and share joy. And that's what this movie does.
I mean, I think that's great. And if I can end on like a tiny personal note about San Francisco, it was that I remember when I was about 14 or 15, there was a travel documentary made by the BBC, presented by Michael Palin. And he was going around lots of places all around the Pacific Rim, and he went to San Francisco and he went to the Castro, and it was very much presented, through a very kind of outsider BBC, like, oh, and here is a place where all the gays and lesbians live. And I just remember seeing that and going like, oh my God, there's a place. And I think that San Francisco is that place, it's that history. And as you talked about, people need to know their queer history and the place of San Francisco within our broader queer history. And although it's been bedeviled in recent years with social inequality and, knobhead tech bros, I think it still has that character to it. And that's hopefully, like what you're saying, is the film is going to show that and continue that image. So the point is that there'll be a 15-year-old queer kid somewhere that sees it and goes, oh my God, there's a place. And that's great. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
So-
San Francisco has always been the beacon on the hill.
Yeah.
We're still here. We're ready to welcome all of you with open arms.
And that's not even in the Castro where that takes place.
Yeah.
San Francisco,
Of course.
when I moved to San Francisco in 1989, queer people weren't holding hands on the street,
Yeah.
At least in most of the city. And now they do all the time. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, it's been lovely to speak to you both, Jennifer and Roma. Thank you so much. Best of luck with the film, and have a safe trip to London. I hope you enjoy London and our gorgeous queer nightlife. If you need tips, let me know. You've probably got loads of shows and things to go to see. So thank you so much.
I really loved that interview. It was so great. I particularly loved the historical references and the passion. It makes me think about how much we do really need to lean on our history and pull through those stories of resilience and activism to help us fight what's happening today. And you really, really hear that in that interview. And I loved. I feel really energized by people who have such a strong sense of passion as well.
Yeah, especially I think Sister Roma, the way that she spoke was very connected to what's going on today, especially with trans youth in the USA. And that was really clear to see a through line between everything that the sisters have been doing for 4 or more decades, and to see that being talked about today. And they knew it was very important that the film was going to be premiering in London at the BFI Flair and everything because of that and the connections here. So it was really great to speak to them.
Yeah, great. Are there any other films that you're looking forward to watching soon?
I really want to see La Grazia by
too.
Paolo Sorrentino, is it?
I think that sounded very convincing.
Very
to me.
Italian. I love his other films, The Great Beauty and Hand of God. So I really want to see this one. I don't actually know anything what it's about. He's one of those directors who I'm like, I will, if I know that there's a new film by him, I don't want to read the synopsis or watch the trailer. I want to go see it.
Yeah, I know it's about a politician.
Oh, great. Okay.
And the poster is very dark and moody. But I mean, thank you for the tip because it's on my list now. Really looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to seeing Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma. Did you see I saw the TV glow?
No, I didn't.
Okay, it was wild. It's kind of I don't even really know how to describe it. It's kind of thrillery, strange, completely on another planet.
Okay.
One of those films which you watch and you're have no idea really what just happened, but somehow it felt good and terrifying at the same time, kind of like what it feels like to be a queer teenager.
Yeah.
So, saddle up. I'm ready for Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma.
Wait, Teenage Sex and Death?
Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma.
Miasma, okay.
I'll see you there.
Great. In the meantime, people can listen back to old episodes of the logbooks if they want. They can go back to the first 3 seasons where we made it in partnership with Switchboard and it was their archive. And it's been quite a while since we've done that. And now we're just chatting every week about all these things. So that's what people can do in the meantime.
Yeah.
And they can follow us on Instagram and everything like that.
And also, Adam, it reminds me a couple of months ago now, the logbook, the first Switchboard logbook was on the repair shop.
That's right.
If anyone wants to watch that, and the amazing Lisa Power, who was a volunteer at Switchboard, and see what the first logbook actually looks like, then you can watch it on BBC iPlayer.
We could put a link or a reference to that in the
That's a good
episode
idea.
notes. Okay. Well, see you next week.
I'll see you next week.
The Logbooks is an Aunt Nell production.
It is hosted and produced by Tash Walker and Adam Smith.
The assistant producer is Mia Campbell. Music from Soundstripe,
Original artwork by Natalie Doto.
with thanks to the Dreamboats at Acast.
Finding ways to be financially savvy is a smart move. And knowing you could be saving money for the things you really want, like that dream home or new ride, is a great feeling. That's why the State Farm Personal Price Plan can help you save when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
Quick question. When was the last time a display ad changed your mind? Now think about the last time a friend told you about something they loved. Different feeling, right? That's how podcast advertising works. A host who's built real trust with their audience talks about your brand in their own words, in their own voice. It doesn't interrupt the experience. It's part of it. With Acast, you can access the world's largest podcast marketplace. Choose the right shows, the right audiences, the right format. Then watch the data tell you it worked. You're not buying impressions. You're buying influence. Learn more by visiting acast.com/advertise.